It began in silence, but not the kind that comforts. It was the hum of a civilization split between two visions of progress. On one side stood Elon Musk, the entrepreneur who defied gravity, borders, and bureaucracies. On the other was Barack Obama, former president turned global policy visionary, who believed that real change required structure, equity, and oversight. The tension sparked quietly in a live-streamed panel at the Future of Civilization Summit in 2025, held in Geneva. The event was meant to be a dialogue between tech innovators and policymakers. What it became was a philosophical showdown. Elon took the stage in his usual minimalist fashion: black shirt, no notes, eyes sharp. "We can't afford to wait," he said, voice cool but forceful. "Governments move at the speed of fear. Innovation moves at the speed of necessity. Mars, AI governance, energy transformation, they won't wait for paperwork." Then came Obama. Calm, composed, charismatic. "The question isn't whether we can build the future. It's whether we should. And who gets to decide," he said, pausing just long enough to let the weight of his words settle. "Technology must be accountable to the people. Democracy isn't an obstacle. It's the operating system." The room fell into a respectful silence. But social media didn't. Within minutes, Musk vs. Obama was trending worldwide. Was this just a philosophical debate, or the early tremor of a deeper societal clash? Backstage, aides scrambled. Sponsors smiled nervously. But both men were calm, as if they'd been waiting for this collision for years. Obama turned to an advisor. "He's building a future. I'm trying to save a society." Musk looked at his phone, tapped out a tweet. If the government could build the future, it would have already done it. And with that, the world watched the lines being drawn. Not between left and right, but between those who worship at the altar of technology and those who still believe in the cathedral of government. The summit had ended, but the ripple effects had only begun. News outlets ran split-screen debates. Musk on one side, champion of rapid disruption; Obama on the other, defender of democratic oversight. But this wasn't just media theater. It had struck a cultural nerve. In the days that followed, Elon Musk unveiled a bold plan: Nova Terra, a private technocratic city-state to be built in the Nevada desert. It would be AI-governed, crypto-based, and powered entirely by solar fusion tech developed by Tesla X. No elections, no traditional government, only engineering-driven progress. "It's not a protest," Musk clarified on X. "It's a prototype." Meanwhile, Obama returned to Washington, invited to address a special joint session of Congress on the topic of technological sovereignty. His speech was classic Obama: measured, hopeful, cutting when needed. Progress without participation is just power. We can't outsource the future to engineers who don't answer to the people. The divide wasn't about Mars, robots, or clean energy anymore. It was about control, and whether the future should be optimized or deliberated. Silicon Valley erupted. Startups pledged allegiance to Musk's vision. Hundreds of top-tier engineers applied to join Nova Terra. Others, including public intellectuals, academics, and policymakers, rallied behind Obama. He formed the Future Accountability Coalition, pushing for global AI regulation and digital human rights charters. It was no longer a disagreement. It was a movement. Two movements, one wrapped in wires, code, and speed, the other cloaked in laws, values, and collective voice. And in the middle stood a generation uncertain who to trust. Nova Terra rose from the desert like a science fiction prophecy come to life. Drones crisscrossed the construction site, assembling structures that looked more like alien monoliths than buildings. Tesla's autonomous trucks moved silently across neon-lit roads. Neuralink towers beamed silent signals. There were no politicians, no lobbyists, only algorithms and engineers. Elon Musk walked the perimeter with a group of hand-picked tech visionaries, live streaming to millions. "Democracy is beautiful," he said, voice calm, gaze fixed ahead. "But it doesn't scale with exponential change. Novaterra isn't against government. It's about proving an alternative." The media went wild. "Silicon Valley's Atlantis," The Verge called it. "A billionaire's utopia," barked CNN. Obama, however, chose not to respond publicly at first. Behind closed doors, he met with tech ethicists, labor leaders, and even skeptical billionaires. At Stanford, he delivered a historic lecture titled "The Future We Choose." He didn't mention Musk by name. He didn't need to. "Progress without inclusion," he said to thunderous applause, "is just a new form of elite control. We must democratize the algorithm, not submit to it." That speech set fire to a global debate. Twitter/X split into factions. Team Musk versus Future Together. On Reddit, essays dissected Novaterra's blockchain voting system and its implications. TikTok teens created memes casting Musk as Iron Man, and others as a techno-dictator. A poll revealed a startling shift. 58% of Americans under 30 supported the Novaterra model. 68% over 50 backed Obama's Democratic oversight plan. The generational line had become a fault line, and deep below the public debate, whispers emerged. Was Novaterra just a test, or a soft launch for something global? Was Obama assembling more than just a think tank? Maybe a resistance? The story was no longer about one city in the desert. It was about the soul of the 21st century. Washington, D.C. buzzed with a nervous energy. Behind closed doors, policymakers met with military advisors, cybersecurity experts, and economists. Novaterra had reached a tipping point. Its population surpassed 250,000. Its economy was self-sustaining, and whispers of a new digital currency, Xcoin, were beginning to rattle Wall Street. Musk stood on the TED stage in Vancouver, dressed in his usual black, flanked by a digital screen pulsing with data. "We've proven it works," he said, as images of Novaterra's crime-free streets and AI-managed education system filled the background. "You don't need outdated bureaucracies to achieve equity and innovation. You need code." Crowds cheered. Investors called it the Musk Doctrine. But in Chicago, Obama returned to his roots. He walked through South Side neighborhoods, not with cameras, but with community organizers. In a town hall aired nationwide, he posed a different question. Who writes the code? Who owns the data? If you lose your vote to efficiency, what have you really gained? His message wasn't anti-technology. It was about ownership, consent, and justice. This time, Musk responded directly. In a live stream viewed by over 80 million people, he said, "Barack Obama is a brilliant man, but he's still playing an old game. We're building a new one." The line was drawn. Hacktivists began targeting Novaterra systems. Misinformation campaigns swirled on both sides. Anonymous white papers alleged that Novaterra's AI had biased patterns in resource allocation. Musk fired back with open-source audits, daring critics to find flaws. Obama launched the Civic Code Coalition, a global alliance of public technologists, policymakers, and even rival CEOs like Satya Nadella and Tim Cook. Their goal? To create open, accountable frameworks for tech governance. Not to stop progress, but to ensure it served everyone. The world watched, divided. Not by nation or party, but by ideology. Was the future better in the hands of a genius innovator, or in the messy, fragile grip of collective democracy? As Novaterra prepared to launch Xcoin into the global market, Obama requested an unprecedented public debate. A live, unscripted event. Just him and Elon. Musk accepted. The countdown began. It was billed as the debate of the century. Broadcast live from an undisclosed location in Geneva, the face-off between Elon Musk and Barack Obama drew over 1.2 billion viewers. Not since the moon landing had humanity tuned in with such collective anticipation. The stage was stark. No fancy visuals, just two podiums under a single banner. Who shapes tomorrow? Obama went first. Calm, precise, measured. I'm not here to fight progress. I'm here to remind us that technology without ethics is just power unaccounted for. When a single man can rewrite the rules of society through code, we must ask, where's the vote? Where's the consent? He invoked the Constitution, the lessons of history, and the fragile balance between power and principle. The room held its breath. Then Musk stepped forward, unblinking, blunt. You had 8 years to build that better future. I'm building it now, not through bureaucracy, but with tools that work. Novaterra isn't just an experiment. It's a demonstration that we don't have to wait for governments to catch up. He showed real-time statistics, energy independence, zero homelessness, universal AI-based education. If democracy means stagnation, maybe we need a new system. The crowd gasped. Twitter exploded. Muskocracy trended worldwide. But Obama didn't flinch. He leaned into the mic. Systems built by one man, no matter how brilliant, are still autocracies. Even benevolent kings are still kings. The debate spiraled into a masterclass in ideology. Musk argued for results. Obama defended process. Musk, code doesn't lie. Obama, but coders do. The final moments were electric. Moderator, Mr. Musk, final word? Musk, we're not replacing governments, we're obsoleting them. Moderator, President Obama? Obama, then it's up to the people to decide whether to be customers or citizens. Silence. Then applause. The debate had no clear winner, but the world was no longer on the fence. The next day, thousands protested in front of federal buildings, while tens of thousands applied for Novaterra citizenship. The line between technology and government wasn't just blurred, it was cracking. And in that crack, a new future was trying to be born. The fallout from the Geneva debate rippled across the globe. Within 72 hours, the lines were drawn. In San Francisco, engineers and coders flooded into Novaterra recruitment centers. Hackathons were hosted on live streams titled Build the Future. In Shanghai, students marched with Musk's face on banners that read, Code over Constitution. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., President Harris convened an emergency summit. Barack Obama, now more than a former president, now a moral anchor, stood before the Joint Committee on Future Security and delivered a chilling assessment. We are witnessing the privatization of civilization. His words weren't hyperbolic. Novaterra was no longer a pilot. It was a movement, and it was spreading faster than any social revolution in history. In Brazil, a province declared its intention to integrate with Novaterra infrastructure, claiming state-run systems have failed. In Europe, governments hesitated, tempted by the efficiency, terrified by the loss of control. Musk made a statement via X, formerly Twitter. Governments were version 1.0. Novaterra is the upgrade. That single post caused a dip in the S&P 500 and a 15% surge in SpaceX shares. The tech world embraced him like a prophet. But political leaders? They saw something else, a sovereign disruptor, armed not with bombs but bandwidth, not with armies but algorithms. In an unprecedented move, the United Nations issued a joint resolution. The sovereignty of digital states must be defined before civilization fragments irreversibly. Obama met privately with EU leaders, pushing for a unified ethical framework for AI and digital governance. His argument? You don't fight code with code. You fight it with conscience. Yet even as they spoke of resistance, their own nations began licensing Novaterra infrastructure to fix broken power grids, digitize education, eliminate food deserts. They couldn't resist the tech, and they couldn't control it either. Back in Nevada, a new Novaterra city went live, Aurora 3, powered entirely by solar, governed by AI, surveilled only by consensus protocols. There were no mayors, no police, no taxes, only systems, and it worked. The world was watching, choosing. Obama, in an interview with The Atlantic, said, "Musk is asking a seductive question. What if progress doesn't need permission? My fear is, what happens when it doesn't need compassion either?" The seeds of global civil division had been sown, not through war, through vision. And in that quiet battle between idealism and disruption, the 21st century found its true frontier. Spring 2025. The world was no longer debating Musk versus Obama. It was living it. In Lagos, traffic lights operated through Novaterra's adaptive neural grid, saving lives daily. In Toronto, public schools quietly adopted NovaLearn's AI curriculum, tripling student performance in 6 months. From education to agriculture, sanitation to space policy, Elon Musk's code was replacing policy. But something began to crack. In Michigan, a town that went fully Novaterra lost its AI arbitrator system for 6 hours. The result? Chaos. No laws, no intervention, only silence. A mother whose child was injured during the blackout cried on live TV. No one answered, not even a person. Just an error message. Barack Obama seized the moment. He stepped onto the stage of the Global Ethics Forum in Berlin. Not with anger, but with clarity. With urgency. When democracy falters, you don't replace it with silence. You rebuild it. His speech went viral. Not for its rhetoric, but for its resonance. People missed being seen by human eyes, not just scanned by sensors. Meanwhile, Elon Musk was in orbit, literally. Broadcasting live from the edge of the stratosphere aboard a Starlink-powered SpaceX capsule, he addressed humanity. We can no longer patch an obsolete system. The update is here. Accept it, or be left behind. It was the most watched transmission in history. Nations began to fracture along ideological lines. Neo-citizens of Novaterra launched digital campaigns to shift elections, leaking AI-generated exposés of corrupt governments. Traditional media couldn't keep up. Truth itself became quantum, fluid, customized, and fractured. In a leaked White House briefing, the U.S. Defense Secretary asked, "At what point does Musk become a threat to national security?" Obama's response was calm. He already is. But so is fear. The climax was near. The President of the United States issued a formal directive. Regulate Novaterra or begin disconnection protocols. It was a declaration of war, not with weapons, but with wires. In response, Musk sent a single word to every Novaterra device worldwide: greater than ready. And just like that, reality stood on a wire, between the old world and the one being written in real time by lines of code. One built by hands, the other by minds. It was called the Digital Accord. Not a treaty, not a law, but a moment. World leaders gathered in Geneva, desperate to contain what had become a global identity crisis. Not between countries, but between systems. Human governance versus algorithmic sovereignty. Obama arrived first, wearing the same calm face he had worn during the 2008 financial crash. Behind closed doors, he laid out the final proposal: a hybrid future, one where AI was integrated, but humans remained the conscience. Musk doesn't need to be stopped, he told them. He needs to be understood and rebalanced. Musk arrived later, not in a private jet, but by teleportation proxy, a hologram transmitted via Starlink Quantum. The room chilled. He didn't blink. "You think this is a negotiation?" Musk said, scanning the delegates. "It's not. It's a status update." What followed was not a speech, but a cascade of code. On every screen in the hall, live projections began showing simulations. A future where cities floated, famine ended, disease was rewritten, all without government. The silence was broken only when Obama stepped into the center and said, "And who decides the soul of this future, Elon? A machine? Or the people it claims to serve?" For a moment, Musk paused. That hesitation, tiny but real, was seen by billions watching live. It was the first time anyone had seen doubt in his eyes. And then, something no one expected. Musk deactivated the simulation. He turned to the room and said, "Let's build it together. But not on your terms, not on mine. On humanity's." The world exhaled. A new council was formed, the Human AI Synthesis Committee, comprised of engineers, philosophers, ethicists, and, yes, politicians. Its first mission: ensure no system, organic or artificial, ever becomes more powerful than the balance between them. Obama and Musk didn't become allies, but they became something rarer: counterweights. And so the question remained, not in opposition but in synthesis: is the future written by code or by conscience? In 2025, the world didn't get an answer. It got a choice. So, what side would you choose? A future optimized by code, or one guided by human values? A civilization where algorithms lead, or where elected voices still matter? In 2025, Elon Musk and Barack Obama didn't just clash over technology. They clashed over what it means to be human in an age where machines think faster, scale broader, and feel nothing. Their visions collided, but out of that friction, a new path emerged. Not pure control, not pure freedom, but a fragile synthesis. And now, that choice is no longer just between two men. It's ours. If you believe in asking the hard questions, challenging the powerful, and decoding the future before it's written, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to Silent Revolution, where we don't just watch history happen. We uncover the blueprints behind it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, think deeper, speak louder, and stay awake.